Power clap on 3, 1, 2. What is going on, everybody? My name is John Solo, and welcome to the 14th official episode of Ask Me Anything, the series where I answer some of the SoloFam's most burning questions about me, the channel, the Messed Up Origins series, and probably a few other things if you do some digging. And speaking of Messed Up Origins, to those of you who are disappointed that this is an AMA and not an MUO, first off, move away slowly from the dislike button. I know what you're about to do, and just wait a second. You'll be very excited to hear that not only is there going to be a Messed Up Origins episode early next week, there's going to be Messed Up Origins episodes for 3 to 4 weeks after that, so just chill. So instead of smashing that dislike button, do me a favor and give that like button a gentle caress on the cheek because you know it needs it. And so do I. My self-esteem is dependent on it. Today's questions come from a recent community post where I said, ask me some questions, and you guys said, okay. And because I see no reason to belabor this introduction, let's just jump into it. Are you planning on making more Greek-Roman mythology in the future or any other type of mythologies? Yes, I do actually. That's kind of why I made the Mythology Explained series a thing, because I planned on making a series out of it. And as I said during the introduction of the Mythology Explained premiere, which I'm just starting to think that you didn't watch, I do plan on covering more than just Greco-Roman mythology. I also plan on getting into Egyptian, Norse, Native American, and even Celtic mythology. I think those would all be really cool. I actually want to get into all of the mythologies if I can, I just don't know how many of them exist. I'll let you know right now though, next week's episode of Messed Up Origins is going to fall under the Mythology Explained umbrella, and I am really excited for you guys to watch this one. If there's like another subject that I was more excited to get into than the 12 labors of Hercules and Hades, it's this. Keep your eyes peeled. It's going to be out on either Wednesday or Thursday of next week. What Disney song still makes you smile? Without a doubt, my two favorite Disney songs to this day are Make a Man Out of You from Mulan and Zero to Hero from Hercules. There's something about those songs, man, probably because they are both about people starting at the bottom and then rising to the top of the heap, working hard to fulfill their potential. I really like stories like that. It's why Pinocchio and Hercules are two of my favorite stories that I've ever covered. Who from any Disney movie would you hang out with? Instinctually, I want to say Hercules because that's my favorite Disney movie of all time. He does have some competition from Aladdin, Buzz Lightyear, and Dumbo, and definitely a few other characters, but I'm not going to pass on the opportunity to chill with a Greek god. Just not going to happen. What non-Disney movie deserves more love? I think you just set a record for most questions from a single person that I'm about to answer. This is a pretty random answer, but a movie I've only discovered in the past year or so, and I have completely fallen in love with, it's easily made its way towards the top of my favorites of all time list, was In Bruges. I don't want to give away too much about what it's about because I went into it totally blind, and that's part of the reason why I enjoyed my first viewing experience of it so much. But if you're a fan of comedy and violence, that's the movie for you. And this might sound kind of random too, but I also think that Lord of the Rings deserves more love than it gets nowadays. I feel like I don't see enough people talking about Lord of the Rings online. Maybe it's just because the Lord of the Rings fandom is way less obnoxious than all of the other ones. Looking at you, Doctor Who fans, crank it back from 11 for the sake of everyone else who doesn't give a shit. Maybe it's just because it came out so long ago and the recent movies, the Hobbit movies, were all ultimately a pretty big disappointment. But yeah, I feel like we should keep reminding ourselves that those movies exist because they're more than just movies. They're epics, and they are in fact epic. What is your favorite live-action Disney film?
None of them.
Just kidding, but really. None of them. I've actually seen quite a few of them at this point because I want to do a video series breaking a lot of them down. Hopefully I'll have the time to do that after the back surgery and after I start up the Archetype series, which I talked about doing a month or so ago. But yeah, so I've seen Maleficent, I've seen The Jungle Book, I've seen Beauty and the Beast, and Dumbo. I haven't seen Cinderella or either of the Alice movies, and I've heard that those were I've heard the Alice movies were terrible, which is not really a surprise because they're Tim Burton films, but I've heard some pretty mixed reviews on the Cinderella movie as well. I actually have quite a few problems with all of the movies that I've seen so far, but I think the all-encompassing common denominator underlying issue with all of these movies is that they feel incredibly pointless. And the craziest part is I'm reading this book called Disney War. I'm gonna go get it, actually. This book called Disney War talks about when 101 and 102 Dalmatians came out and the Jungle Book movie a little bit before that. Even back then, before the internet was what it is today, which is apparently just a platform where people can bitch and moan about the things they don't like, the general consensus from the audience was that while the movies were somewhat decent, while overall the story was solid and it was put together nicely and the effects were great and this and that, ultimately it felt kind of pointless because it just wasn't as good as the original. Therefore, it made it way too obvious that it was just made to make money. And obviously all businesses, especially Hollywood businesses, are around to make money. They're really not around to make art and make people think and feel good, even though the movies do. That's just a fortunate byproduct. We're just lucky that movies make money so we can have access to them. But with a company like Disney that's so concerned about its image and wants to come across as a wholesome family place full of magic and whimsy, it blows my mind that they're just okay with releasing mediocre movie after mediocre movie. And I just saw Dumbo. The trailers made Dumbo look really good. Overall, about a 5 out of 10 stars, if I was being generous. If I wasn't, and if I was being really critical, I would give it a 4 or 3.5 out of 10. And being that the classic Dumbo is one of my favorite movies of all time and always has been, it makes me really nervous for the upcoming Aladdin and Lion King movies because I love those too, and I feel like that they're just gonna be trash. At least, judging from the trailers, they look like trash, so I don't know. I don't like any of the live action movies. That's my answer to your question. Would you ever consider doing a tour where you tell us stories? It's actually funny that you ask that because I just mentioned this in the podcast that I uploaded Tuesday, which more of you need to check out, by the way, because according to the comments, it's pretty good. But yes, a lecture series where I go around the world and share these stories with people in cities all over the place, that's one of my ultimate goals. I don't know when it'll happen. It definitely won't be anytime soon. I'd say maybe in like 2 years, that would be a possibility if things keep going the way that they're going. I promise you though, I am currently working my absolute hardest to make the connections that I need to grow this channel in a way that a worldwide tour, even if the venues are small, that a worldwide tour would be possible. When are you going to do more of the Arabian Nights collection? I don't want to tell you exactly when, but soon. Very, very soon. Which Disney prince do you think you're most like? I have no idea who the Disney princes are off the top of my head, so let me Google that. Okay, we got Prince Eric, Prince Charming, Aladdin, Li Shang, John Smith, Prince Philip, Beast, Flynn Rider. Alright, I'm not gonna go through them all. Why would I bother? Maybe Prince Philip, because he's all about slaying dragons and saving damsels, but he doesn't seem to have much of a personality, so I don't know, that doesn't bode well for me. Maybe the Beast, because he's also got some issues with his rage. I don't know, maybe the reason I'm having such a hard time deciding is because I'm not like any of them, and instead just a combination of all of their best qualities. How did you get into the whole world of fables and this stuff? And this stuff, huh? How articulate of you. That was very eloquently worded. Ever since I was a small child, I've liked reading. I remember taking my accelerated reader test in first grade and placing higher than everybody else in the whole class, which was like a class of 14, but still pretty cool. Not trying to brag or anything, but I did have a 5th grade reading level back in first grade. And you know how smart 5th graders are. But really, I've always liked reading. I remember in 2nd grade, I would wake up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning when my dad would get ready to go to work, and I would just sit on the couch in the den and read the 4th Harry Potter book because I was so excited to get through it. And I've also always really liked going on these deep research binges where I learn everything I can about a subject and then telling people what I learned on those research binges. So I guess you could say I really found my niche. And then as for how I got into the fables specifically, I mean, as many of you know, I made my name on YouTube at first doing conspiracy theories about movies and shows. In particular, I talked a lot about Star Wars and Disney properties. And then I had this idea to compare the classic Disney films to the horrifying fairy tales they were based on. Slowly but surely, I got better and better at doing that, and from there was just a natural progression of me getting to the fables. Who's your favorite character in Once Upon a Time? I can't remember all the characters off the top of my head because it's been about a year or two since I've seen the show because I didn't watch the last season that came out, but Regina, Rumpelstiltskin, and Hook, I would say those were my 3 favorites. What do you want your last words to be? I don't f***ing know. I really have no idea. I remember reading a short story one time, I think it may have been by Lemony Snicket, where he talks about a guy who decided what he wanted his last words to be, and he spent all his time repeating those words to himself over and over and over again, and then finally, on his deathbed, someone asked him what time it was. I may be wrong about who wrote it, but for some reason that story always stuck with me. So I guess maybe my last words could be like, 2:15. Actually, I'll do you one better, and let me set the stage. I want to be anywhere between 90 and 107 years old, laying in a very comfortable memory foam bed with a memory foam pillow under my head. I want to be surrounded by loved ones with my beautiful, gorgeous wife by my side. I want to take her hand in my own and stare deeply into those beautiful blue eyes that I lost myself in all those years ago and say, I love you, bitch, and just flatline right there. No, seriously, I have no idea, but that does sound like an excellent place to end this video, doesn't it? Solo fam, thank you so much for watching this episode of Ask Me Anything, and thank you so much to those of you who submitted questions. I really, really appreciate the love and support, and I'm sorry I couldn't get to every single one of you, but You heard how much I ramble. That's an impossible feat. In the meantime, submit your questions for the next AMA in the comment section down below, in addition to giving that like button a gentle love tap and turning notifications on for your subscription. As always, you can follow me on social media to stay updated on Messed Up Origins news, what projects I'm working on next, or if you just want to say what's up. And when you're through with all that, maybe consider checking out the podcast I uploaded a few days ago. I'll be seeing you all next week in the second official episode of Mythology Explained. Until then, my name is John Solo, and remember, John shot first.